Which camera am I looking into?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
this one?
It's way over here.
That's the 3-shot.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is live on YouTube, so who knows where this goes. Jim Rich here, along with Don Mitchell, Pierre Noujaim. Your Minnesota Vikings, just a ho-hum season opener. Nothing really excited to think about. Nothing to panic about. If you could have taken a snapshot of every Viking fan at halftime versus where they are right now, I think a lot of people would like to change their opinions because it was gloom and doom after that first half, Don, as the Vikings looked nothing like the Minnesota Vikings we've seen under Kevin O'Connell.
No, everyone wants to talk about J.J. McCarthy, but the defense couldn't tackle, so we're
Nope.
thinking even the defense couldn't do it. The O-line was kind of porous, and then J.J., until he threw that pick six, which I think that's when he left his body, and he got angry, and things turned around. But that first, we're just thinking, oh, Tom Brady was right. This is going to be a long season for a rookie quarterback. But, that fourth quarter, man. That's crazy.
Tale of two halves, in my opinion, really. And you know me. You know I'm the most boring football viewer of all time because all I do is watch the line of scrimmage. Because that, to me, still to this very day, is where the game is won and lost. Tale of two halves in that regard, where in the first half, I thought Chicago's offensive line looked fantastic for the most part. Every bit of what they did to revamp that offensive line, especially on the interior, I thought it was money well spent there by Ryan Poles to get this team to try to get to another level. Minnesota's defense, as the quarter went on in the second quarter, I thought they got better penetration in that quarter, but Caleb Williams, give him credit, was just murderous to try to bring down. He was just eluding pressure left and right. And I thought the offensive line in Minnesota in the first half was not very good. There was no run game whatsoever established in that first half from the Vikings. From the Bears either, really. If you take away the runs that Caleb Williams had in the first half, the Bears couldn't get it going on the ground either as well. But in the second half, like I said, completely different story. It was Minnesota starting to get penetration in the pocket. It was Minnesota starting to run with some anger and some force in the run game. Jordan Mason was terrific tonight in the run game. He was arguably Minnesota's most important player in that second half because he kept those legs churning and moving the ball, and they would starting getting first downs and starting to get the ball moving. So I thought, like I said, two different stories, the first half, second half at the line of scrimmage, and that's why the Vikings came out on top tonight.
Yeah. I'm stunned at how McCarthy got himself off the mat. I am absolutely floored because I thought when that kid threw the pick, I mean, he's thinking back to his Michigan days, and there's some fat, slow safety in the Big Ten trying to move in on that. And he's got his wide receiver, the best in the NFL right there, and he's like, "There's my first NFL touchdown."
What did you say upstairs in the office when that happened? Tell the people. Tell the
say?
people. Welcome to the NFL, kid.
Oh, yeah.
It was a welcome, though.
Yeah,
it
it
probably
really
was a wake-up
Fair
call,
enough.
too.
Fair enough, yeah.
But for him, in the moment, to go, and rattle his brain, get it straightened out, and say, I could do this. Because a lot of guys, if something like that happens, their confidence is shot.
No doubt.
For the game. Yet, he found a way to regain his composure. Whatever O'Connell said to him, whatever McCowan said to him, whatever his teammates said to him, something clicked. And all of a sudden, may have been Jordan Mason and the running game giving them some room, but still, he had to come through with some huge throws, and he did that.
Well, at first, he also got confidence, too, that he started connecting with Jets, when he made those first two connections with Jets. And then talk about the play calling from Kevin O'Connell. First of all, to Aaron Jones deep, and then the second on the fake handoff to Mason, and where he ran it in himself. So you have to give him credit on that. But Jim, you brought up an interesting thing. We talked about this in the pregame show. Greg Holcomb, who is his private kind of trainer, said a lot of people don't know about the determination of J.J. McCarthy. So they talk about the face paint that he always wears.
Right.
But he said when he was playing Ohio State, because he wanted to be drafted by Ohio State, and he was crushed that that they wanted to have him sign at Ohio State, not drafted. He was crushed. And then he said, so the first game that he faced Ohio State, he did not wear face paint. And he went out and beat him. And then people were like, well, why? And he said, because I wanted Ryan Day to see my whole face when I beat his team. So he has that inside him. But you're right. Whatever was said to him, whatever was said to the offensive line as well, because they played lights out afterwards. And even I was a little worried when Ryan Kelly went into the blue tent. Right. I mean, it was so backed up. Even Blake Cashman had to wait for him. I'm like, oh no, we lost our center already.
To get in there for a little bit.
So whatever turned, whatever worked, and then that face, I will never forget that face on J.J. McCarthy when he got that touchdown like that. He was angry, but he was happy at the same time. That's etched in my brain now. That shows me a lot about the fight this kid has.
Got to keep an even keel. And for a young quarterback making his first NFL start, it is certainly impressive to see a young man keep an even mindset the way things were going. Because that, let's be honest, that throw to J.J. McCarthy to Justin Jefferson that resulted in a pick six, it's a poor decision. I mean, you're coming almost across half field trying to make that throw to the sideline, and that looked like it was going to be pretty much the nail in the coffin for McCarthy and the rest of the offense at that moment in time. But to get up off the mat and to show you what type of resilience and moxie this guy has. And, of course, like Don said, let's give some credit to Kevin O'Connell, pushing the right buttons at the right time to make sure this team continues to press forward, even though things looked like they were down and out. You learn something about this young man here tonight. You learn something about this team here tonight. Never quit attitude. It's 4 quarters of football. Everybody on social media, like Jim, you're saying, doom and gloom, this is over. Where's Carson Wentz? Where's Aaron Rodgers? Where's this guy and that guy? Where's Sam Darnold?
Jones,
where's Daniel?
There's Spurgeon Wynn.
I mean,
they were calling for anybody, anywhere.
For 2.5 to almost 3 quarters, it looked like the moment was too big for him. And then where do we normally measure quarterbacks the most? Fourth quarter, winning time. That's what happened here tonight. J.J. McCarthy was able to show you that he's not afraid of the big lights, that he can handle the moment. And this is certainly, it's only one game, but it's certainly a positive step towards seeing what this young man could develop into for the Minnesota Vikings in the future.
He's now 64-3 overall.
Wild.
From high school.
Wild.
For his record.
And there's one other thing. There has to be an asterisk after this. This was the Chicago Bears. If there's one team that could kill themselves.
Sorry, Chicago.
It is the Bears. They have the worst record in the NFC, worst division record of any team against their division opponents in the NFL since 2022. I think it was 3-15. They flashed on the screen late in the game, but we got a text from a former employee who is a lifelong Bears fan, and he said, I've seen this script so many times. So you do have to add that caveat to it, that the Bears are not a winning organization at this point. They don't know how to close out games. That's why there was a change of coaching staff. That's why there's all new players there, so many changes. So that has to be thrown into it as well. But still, McCarthy and the way the Vikings got the job done. And the defense, like, Don, you kind of mentioned it, and Pierre, you did too, how the lines got nasty. Like, there were some monstrous hits laid out by that Vikings defense, which we didn't see in the first half. They couldn't get close to anybody to throw a block.
It was like they were greased in Crisco.
Yeah. And Caleb Williams, he had that script memorized. That first drive, he was 6 for 6, then capped it off with a 9-yard run, and you're thinking, like, wow, Ben Johnson really knows what he's doing here with this team, and he has tapped into all the talent that Williams has. But as the game wore on, and it was more on Williams to get the offense going, the throws were errant. They weren't to the right people. He would panic and
couldn't establish a run either for the Bears. Couldn't establish a run either for them, and that really is what killed them a lot in this game.
And even on defense, when Blake Cashman went down, and I was like, "Oh no, here we go." We've seen this movie before last year. Eric Wilson comes in, and he was everywhere. Eagle was playing like when he first got here, when he was a youngster. He was out there making plays. So I really like that even the defense didn't panic when it comes to whether it was a bad penalty, whether it was Pace, hitting Caleb on the helmet, or whether it was Murphy. They didn't blink. And so whether someone got hurt or there was a penalty, I really like how the defense buckled down, and I think the offense took advantage after that too.
I think there are three players in my mind outside of J.J. McCarthy and Jordan Mason tonight. Three players for the Vikings who I thought had exceptional games. One was Eric Wilson, for sure. Not just on defense, but on special teams as well. Had a nasty tackle after they cut it to 17-12. Nasty tackle on special teams to stop a guy dead in his tracks. And it was a little bit of an attitude adjustment right there. And
that's what I was saying. That edge came back.
That fires up a team. Also, you have to give credit to Miles Price, who was terrific in the return game tonight, both punt return and kick return.
He was right in traffic.
Between him, Eric Wilson, and Will Reichert, who nailed a 59-yard field goal tonight. The special teams unit tonight for Minnesota was fantastic. Fantastic.
They give up a lot of yards.
Coverage could have been better.
Iffy.
But special teams, in terms of, they won the special teams battle. They won the special teams battle here tonight. That certainly will go a long way. The other individual I really would like to name, I was keeping my eye on him all night long. Donovan Jackson, your first-round draft pick, starting at left guard. There were several times when he was left one-on-one in pass protection, and he held up his own more than what I thought he would. He was terrific tonight, one-on-one. The line was
At first, he
fine.
wasn't.
Well, Donovan Jackson was just fine. The line collectively as a whole tonight in that first half was not great. But Donovan Jackson, I thought, when he was left on an island by himself, I thought he held his own very, very well. And like you said, Jim, war of attrition, as the game continues to go on, the line would just get better and better on both sides of the ball. And where is Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's all the money was spent in the offseason? On your offensive line, on your defensive line. That's what they wanted to get tougher. They wanted to get bigger. Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, Will Fries, Ryan Kelly. Those were the names in the trenches on both sides of the ball where they focused in the offseason. Javon Hargrave finally got through with a penetrative sack here tonight in the fourth quarter. That was big. And, I thought the protection as the game went along, again, was just getting better and better. So I think it's a small sample size, but it's a good start.
And who knew that Aaron Jones could catch the bombs?
What? Unbelievable.
Right? That's a training camp special right there, What I really loved about Jordan Mason, too, I know that we mentioned him being a beast, but obviously his feet keep going and going and going. But that spin move he has that focus, I'm bringing dancing into this thing.
Yeah.
You spot on the wall. He can spin and still have that spot on the field. He doesn't lose his balance. He doesn't lose his focus, and he keeps his feet moving. And he was fun to watch today.
Well, you went where I wanted to go when you talked about the way the Vikings retooled themselves this offseason after they got their lunch handed to them the last two games by being physically outplayed by the Lions and the Rams. They got together and said, we need to figure out a way to win no matter how the game turns. If it turns into an ugly game where it's just one in the trenches, we're not going to have the beautiful balls to Jefferson for a 98-yard bomb. And that's what they did tonight. And I think you saw that with Mason and Jones. You alluded to his pass-catching ability by Aaron, and you alluded to Mason's toughness running inside. And I think that was really the focal point for this Vikings offense. When they got those two guys going, all of a sudden the rest came available because Justin Jefferson ended up with only 4 catches on the night on 7 targets. And he was tied for passing yards. He had 44. Aaron Jones had 44. And so you look at what those two in the backfield did, and that's what you saw at training camp when you're out there a lot, the Aaron Jones stuff. And they're saying don't say anything because this is stuff we're up to here, so you kind of keep that to yourself. But you can see how they're rethinking the worm here. And eventually you can see that this offense will open it up. But I think they wanted to walk tonight before they ran. And maybe that's why the first half was so sloppy, because they were trying to be in control and not put it on McCarthy. And then it just mushroom cloud for them in that first half.
And let me put this out there. I love Justin Jefferson, but he should have had those 2 balls. One was super low, but I still think he should have had that one. But definitely that other one, it was high, but it was right in his hands. So those are 2 that I think Jets tonight, when he goes to sleep, he wants to have back. I mean, it's no disrespect to him. I think he's an amazing player. But when you see those, he's usually on those kind of things.
And let's not forget, the Vikings are playing without 2 key pieces of their offense in this game. No Jordan Addison. He's on suspension. Christian Darrisaw was ruled out before the game tonight. So no Christian Darrisaw at left tackle, who I think would have made a big difference in this game. So Minnesota playing without 2 key pieces on offense.
I think that's what caused the problems in the first half.
Yeah, I would think so.
School was still learning.
Justin
getting schooled.
His school's getting schooled.
Justin School, I think, was having a hard time. I think Kevin O'Connell realized that, sent an extra tight end. You didn't have a running back in there to try to chip, to try to help your left tackle out a little bit, your backup left tackle. So I think when Christian Darrisaw comes back, I think that will make a big difference, not only in this line but in this offense as a whole. But you were saying that you thought maybe they didn't want to put too much on JJ too early. Then I have to ask you, Jimmy. Then in the fourth quarter, is it like, hey, you know what? Let's let the kid sling it. Is it time to let the kid sling it?
This didn't work. But I mean, in your mind, if you're in charge and you're walking through a player the first time, hadn't played a competitive game in over 600 days, hadn't taken a snap in a true NFL game, you don't want to say, all right, we're going no huddle. We're going with you, empty backfield, 5 wide receivers. Let's go, right? You want to give the kid a chance to try to look around and say, oh, these people are faster. And I think that's what led to that interception as well, that he didn't realize the speed and how quickly defenders can close at this level. So I'm thinking because they wanted to try to run the ball, they felt with their new beefed up offensive line that we could really dictate the tempo of the game to the Bears, take the crowd out of it by going on a long, sustained drive. Instead, it was 2 3-and-outs that ended with sacks the first 2 possessions, and you're like, okay, this doesn't seem to work so well. What would you like to try next? And so I think then they said, all right, let's get this opened up. And maybe they talked to McCarthy, and he was saying, let me do more. Let's go. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Ahmad Hicks is in Chicago. He'll get post-game reaction. You'll see all that. That'll be posted on our YouTube channel as well as fox9.com. But let us know in the comments. You guys roasted us well a year ago as we're sitting up here pontificating on the purple. So please be kind to the others, but I could take the heat if you'd like to dish it.
No, we don't need the kindness.
I can't express enough, though, how much something changed in J.J. McCarthy still after that pick six. I wrote down the stats. After his pick six, he was 8 of 11 for 95 yards, 2 touchdowns, and ran in for 1. So, yes, the running game got going. Yes, the line got better, but something – I think, he probably said in his head, all right, well, then that's done. I've survived that. I've thrown my first pick six.
NFL touchdown. Yep. That was sweet.
So something turned around that way, too. So it's just really good to see. It's nice to see the tale of two halves in a way that it ends so perfectly for this young rookie that finally gets it. He's not a rookie. He's a second year, I know, but his first game, finally getting his glory, so to speak.
They started the game 0 of 8 on third down, too. They finished it 3 of 4, which proved pivotal in that fourth quarter. And I looked down at the final box score, and I'm thinking to myself, how in the world did the Vikings end up rushing for 120 yards tonight? That seemed impossible. But it's no coincidence that the offense really started to go and get going once the run game finally got established. And that's your best friend for a young quarterback right there, is having a consistent run game. Credit to Jordan Mason. And you know what? Don touched on it a second ago, too. Credit to Aaron Jones, too, who didn't really have it going tonight between the tackles, running the football at all. Keep your head in the game the way Aaron Jones keeps your head in the game and then makes a big play in the passing game. Credit to Aaron Jones. When things aren't going your way, when you're used to having things go your way in the running game, you keep your mind right. You stay available mentally for a big play. And guess what? A big play just dropped right in your lap, literally and physically.
And he also drew the pass interference, too.
That as well.
So he had 2 big plays.
No doubt about it.
A little bit of props to Adam Thielen, who, at first, I think that...
Dropped. Well, he didn't. That was a great defensive play.
But we know that he's only going to be used sparingly. We knew that he was playing, though. But, he ends up getting that 2-point conversion. He made another reception before that. So to kind of step in and be stable and be a guy that JJ can rely on, too, in those crucial moments where you needed those 2 points. After missing the 2-point conversion before that, I thought it was pretty good.
And the penalties you expected early in the season, but the Bears
killed themselves.
A dozen penalties for 127 yards.
Killed themselves.
That's quite a substantial amount to overcome and come away with a victory.
And that was, as much as I was praising the Bears offensive line in the first half, that's kind of where the downfall was for them, was on the offensive line. I believe it was 5 false start penalties on them tonight. Can't remember if there was a holding call in there as well. I'd have to go back and look at the game log. But penalties up front for the Bears absolutely killed themselves. Tough one for them, but nobody here in Minnesota is going to be worrying about that right now. Chicago's problem is Chicago's problem. Now the Vikings move on to Atlanta in week 2.
No, and you talk about a penalty that hurt the Vikings too. Ivan Pace Jr., they call him the Tasmanian Devil. Like, we see him on the blitz. We love how he is, but when he went too high, you could see the coaches on the sideline going, you got to stay lower. You got to stay lower. You can't, rough the passer like that. Right. So you take the good with the bad with him. You love that he's kind of, I don't want to say crazy, but the Tasmanian Devil moniker really kind of fits him. Like, unleash him, but all right, not the quarterback's helmet.
I think he was trying to knock the pass down.
He was.
And
he got too much. Yeah.
Led to a touchdown for the Bears there at the end.
Right, and that's how the Bears made it interesting down the stretch. And another thing with the Vikings offense was in the first half very sluggish. Right? They also,
to say the least,
delay a game. Well, I meant getting the plays in and getting them cleanly snapped. We saw the play clock down to 0 or 1 on numerous. They took a delay. Then there was another one where McCarthy thought they should have reset the clock. The officials didn't agree with him. So that was all part of the process for him to get himself straightened out. But pretty stunning, to say the least. The Vikings come away. They learn a lot. Right? McCarthy learned a ton here tonight, but it doesn't have to learn it in a loss.
No.
And I think that is critical because you start looking at big picture, and we all know how tough this Viking schedule is. Top 5 toughest in the NFL. This is one you had to win. If you're looking at this team being a playoff caliber team, this is one that when you looked at the whole season, even the coaching staffs, they'll say, well, it's on to next week. That's all we're looking at is Atlanta. But the fans go down the list and say, well, this one you're going to have a really tough time winning. This is one that they needed to win if they wanted to be a playoff team, because after the bye, after they get back from London, it gets extremely difficult. So this is one here early in the season that they needed to get in the win column.
I think certainly at this point, too, Vikings fans are probably saying to themselves, well, if we can win looking this bad, how are we going to look when we're actually playing and clicking on all cylinders? How good are we going to look when we're actually playing our best football? So if we can still win on the road, even though the Bears, like Jimmy was saying, he hates Chicago and he hates all you Bears fans out there. So just But
so the Vikings now have won 6 straight at Soldier Field. That is a franchise record for the Minnesota Vikings. So
how many
the
by 3
monsters
points,
of the Midways do not exist right now.
How many by 3 points? That's got to be a record.
Another one-score game, though, under Kevin O'Connell, for sure. Crazy. I mean, that they're able to win. But again, to the point, you didn't play very good football for definitely 2, if not 2.5 quarters tonight, and you're still able to win the game on the road. To me is that says a lot.
It's also the first game that they've all played together in terms of a full game. If you think about it, I know they were saying on the broadcast a lot about how much Kevin O'Connell did not play people in the preseason versus Ben Johnson, who did play his starters in the preseason, and they were kind of making the argument, well, that's why the Bears are winning right now. I'm like, that's not why the Bears are winning right now. Everyone's it's bad football pretty much the first 2 weeks of the season all around the league, if you really think about it. But I really liked like you said, the second half when the guys in the trenches, things started clicking together when we're seeing a full game played by everybody and what can be.
Yeah. And then I'm excited to see, I think everybody's excited to see what this team will look like when it's playing its best football. And, again, it's not even so, it's winning on the road in a primetime game with not a rookie, but essentially a rookie quarterback.
His debut.
Playing the way that you did tonight and still coming home with a win. I mean, credit to Kevin O'Connell and his staff. These guys just always seem to find a way to press the right buttons. When it comes to playoff time, that'll be a different story, and that's something that the chapter still needs to be written on this coaching staff and this organization. But again, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with how J.J. McCarthy came out in the fourth quarter and didn't blink and was able to get the job done. I'm thoroughly impressed by that fourth quarter. One quarter isn't an indication of how the rest of the season is going to go. But like I said earlier, promising start.
Right. I mean, statistically, everything is against the Vikings. The Bears had more first downs. They had more rushing first downs. They had 312. Both teams were 3 for 12 on third down. So not too stellar by either club at converting there. But total plays, Bears had 63, Vikings had 49. Total yards, 317 to 254. So there's a lot of things that the Bears, too, can look at and say that, we were right there. We just made some mistakes that cost us in the end. So both these teams, I don't think are feeling that they're on their way to be division champs, but at least we've got now some real concrete footage to look at, plays to look at, instead of pontificating on preseason snaps and what we've seen in practice. So that's the best part, is that we're actually playing real football.
Well, they say there's one stat that you can't measure, Jim, and that's heart. Right? Grit and heart. I mean, you're going to hear that this week. We're going to hear that
all week long. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think there's something to be said for that too, for sure. But I don't really know what to make of this win. All I know is that it's a win, and that's what you want. I don't really know what to make of it just yet. And I agree with Dawn in the sense that the first week now, with 3 preseason games as opposed to 4, it does feel a little bit in the last couple of years since they've changed that week 1 almost feels by proxy another preseason game, if you will. Not to the extent of a bunch of no-name guys that you don't know are going to go out on the field and trying to win a job. It's rhythm, timing, execution. These things are not all up to par. If you're talking probably to every head coach in the league, it's not up to snuff with how they want to be, but they'll all tell you it's week 1. We got a long way to go to correct these mistakes and get into our rhythm. That's not what you typically see in week 1 over the last couple of years with 3 preseason games as opposed to 4. But I think that the Vikings, and like I said, I have a lot of faith in this coaching staff, and I think that this team only has its best football ahead of them.
Well, and it's also, in addition to it just being 3 and not 4, is also the mentality that they're shifting to. We're getting most of our work done in joint practices as opposed to these 3 games, So it's this whole mentality that has shifted, that has kind of created this, I feel like. People always ask, well, how do you think they're going to do? I'm like, I'll talk to you week 3. You just don't know.
Yep.
So.
Well, and penalties is a perfect indication of that. 20 total penalties in tonight's game. And that's a good indicator that timing, rhythm, flow, still got to work on that a little bit as we enter week 2.
All right, here's one last note for you to go to bed and smile just a bit. From Jordan Schultz, he says that J.J. McCarthy is the first player in NFL history to account for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of his NFL debut.
How do you like that, Vikings fans? How do you like that?
Record-setting performance from your quarterback. What more do you need?
I mean, it's the thing of beauty. Well, we go into week 2.
And come back from a 10-point deficit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we go into week 2. Atlanta's coming to town. They're the team that probably felt like they probably let one slip away against Tampa in week 1. So they'll be coming to if you're sitting at 0-1, nobody wants to start 0-2. I know it's 17 instead of 16 now, so maybe the rope is a little looser at this point. The 0-2 streak of not making the playoffs, but Atlanta's going to be coming in here on Sunday night looking to try to even their record at 1-1 because they want to be desperate and not fall too far behind in the NFC South, even though the NFC South has not exactly been the most challenging division over the years. No disrespect, but
you meant the disrespect.
Well, no disrespect to Carolina out there, all you Carolina Panthers fans. Jim's insulting the Bears fans. Nobody cares about the Dolphins. Nobody cares about that. Why would you bring that up? That's completely random on a Vikings podcast. Why would you do that, Jim?
Because
that's
we don't
pretty
like
terrible.
To see you cry.
Anyway, in terms of what are we looking forward to week 2 with Kirk Cousins and the Falcons coming in to U.S. Bank Stadium in week 2?
I got to digest this first.
Do you?
I got to digest this first. It's more nighttime football. We don't have the history of J.J. McCarthy in primetime games. Remember, Kirk Cousins always had that?
Thankfully, he won tonight.
He's 1-0. He's perfect in primetime nighttime games.
Back-to-back primetime nighttime games for J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, to start this career.
I think we have to see who's left standing after this. There's some injuries that will have to be addressed this week for the Vikings, especially Cashman.
Yep.
That did not look good, the hamstring there. We'll have to see how the offensive line came out of this one, whether they're intact, whether Darisaw is back for week 2. So there's still a lot of things, and we've got some time before we move on to Atlanta. We're going to relish this.
And Harrison Smith. Hopefully he'll be stronger from this personal illness.
Yeah, the back end did pretty well without Harrison back there. I thought that was going to be a real problem when the Bears were able to hold off the Vikings front seven, I thought this really could be problematic if Williams has time. But then they were able to figure out a way to get home, start harassing him, chasing him out. And so they get the win here, 27-24. We're going to wrap it up here. I'm sure your comments are lit. We'll be reading those.
Lit.
And join us.
Did your grandkids tell you that?
Wow.
Yeah. No, I got something's lit. Look at this big 9 back here. Is that cool? No, that'd be lit, wouldn't it? It is lit because
pretty lit.
It's on right now.
Pretty lit, Jim.
Yeah. All right. So Pierre, tell us where we can follow you and where people can find this podcast. They just stumbled across this.
Isn't this normally Ahmad's job? Because he knows.
He's not
Yeah.
here.
Oh, that's true. He's in Chicago. Oh, you can get us anywhere you find your podcast. So this is the Vikings Now podcast. You can find it Apple, iTunes, anywhere. Also, Spotify, absolutely. And you can check us out. And where you're watching us right now on the Fox 9 YouTube page.
All right. And what's your X
You
handle?
can find me on X at the Nouj Fox 9, Nouj.
Don?
I am Dawn AT, Dawn at Fox 9.
There you go. All right, that'll do it for us. Vikings win 27-24. Celebrate. Might as well. J.J. McCarthy has to be, as he goes back home and walks out a winner. For Don Mitchell, Pierre Noujaim, I'm Jim Rich. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you after every Vikings game this year on the Vikings Now podcast. Thank you for listening, watching, and, of course, we love your comments.